You are watching Xirtus.
The other thing is, what do we associate with space is like also us above, so below. So when you think about the Kennedy period, particularly into LBJ, it's the submarine, nuclear submarine period, right? And
Yeah.
that I think is a bigger connection, probably a bigger asset that is controlled than anyone really realizes. Because it's out of submarines, you get Al Gore inventing the internet.
Well, ARPANET and DARPANET, yeah, you get a lot of stuff that came out
Yeah.
of these think tanks. It started with Rand and Battelle, though, in the 40s and 50s. Rand and Battelle set the pace for these, subject matter expert groups where they'd pull all these subject matter experts together and have a think tank and have them sit there and argue with each other about, the feasibility of a given subject that involved, chemistry, physics, math, engineering, all these different technical aspects, and they get all the right people together and get all the smart people to hash it out and figure out, is this something that we want to throw billions of dollars at or not? And a lot of times, these think tanks weren't the brightest or weren't the best people. You know, Sometimes it's just some guy that happened to be in grad school that got a degree in the right field at the right time. Anyone who is into, BCS or superconductor theory or superconductor stuff in the early, 70s, 80s would have been scooped up into black programs, regardless of their credentials or capabilities or, just because of their field and background. So there's it's all about timing and being in the right place at the right time, which is, why I've put out the science information that I have. A lot of young students are wanting to know what they should study, what they can do to make a difference, to really make a huge change or big impact on the world. And the answer is, if you get into these type of technologies, I tell them, go to Duke, study metamaterials, go to University of Rochester in New York. Beautiful school. You'll love the area, except in the wintertime. Um, but you'll meet lots of connections to all the people working on these things. Stony Brook, like if you want to get into physics programs and just get into a bachelor's degree and then and apply to grad school at one of these places and study up on your GRE, because that's what you're studying in undergrad, to be able to pass that GRE and get a huge score on that graduate record examination to get into a good college. And I've gotten a lot of kids, reach out to me saying, hey, I changed my major because of watching your videos, and now I'm working on some really cool stuff. And then I've had people come circle back to me and say, hey, I'm want to share some intel with you, because now I'm working on stuff, because thanks to the tip offs you gave me and what I should research and look into. So there's but yeah, this whole thing with the fake news stuff, man, is ridiculous, because it shows in ufology the fakest stuff has gotten the most attention. It's the stuff that sells and makes newspaper headlines and sells newspapers or whatever. It's what they thrive to. I think they've realized this in the mainstream news. I mean, we've seen the CIA publish fake news and put out fake disinformation stories, use disinformation as vehicles to sell, propaganda and all kinds of stuff in the past. But it's come to a lot of people's attention within the community that Arrow was, as I said, when they were setting up Arrow as the government response to the UFO problem. I said, this is not about UFO videos and analyzing UFO videos. The fact that the government, thinks the UFO issue is that they have to set up an office to analyze UFO videos and then give public reports on what the UFO videos are. That is like the YouTube sensationalistic Hollywood version of what this field involves. Because when you talk about metamaterials and invisibility, cloaking, and stealth technology, I just laugh at all these people posting videos of these lights in the sky dancing around and flying around for us. Well, what happened so then that brings us back to, yeah, well, if it's all technology and our technology and drones, as a lot of people are saying and think it is, what the hell happened in 1571 out in Germany, right? In the sky there. because it was orbs, it was saucers, it was rods, it was all the different things in a big galactic fight in the sky. It was December 3rd, right? That happened. And then someone predicted that that they would be coming back in December 3rd this year for some reason. Is that
for some reason it came up, I think mainly through the to the Pentagon UFO sighting committee hearing. So there's that video where it was like Bobart and all of these Congress ladies were asking questions, and in the interview they mentioned a couple of things. One, for some reason, like this idea that there would be something that I think one of the guys who was being interviewed at the table had brought up December 3rd, and the other thing was that I think, well, I don't know if it was Bobert or who, but one of the ladies brought up Immaculate Constellation, and so the project Immaculate Constellation, and the idea that there's a recovery program. There's an entire document about retrieval of technologies of unknown origins, right? And so the idea that they're taking technology that they're finding that's not from any immediately obvious state right now, that we know of, and then they're retrieving it, and that technology is somehow being, what's the word they use where they recreate alien crafts, Yeah,
the reverse engineered. It's being back engineered.
Yeah.
So again, this whole thing, the naming of this document, Immaculate Constellation, Immaculate Conception, right? That was the name of
yeah.
That was the name of Corbell. Jeremy Corbell had like a film with John Lear from like 10 years ago or something. He was working on this big John Lear documentary. They got in a big fight with John Lear's daughter after he died. And, because Corbell took all this footage, but he signed a contract with Lear saying Lear, had the rights, and Lear never signed over the rights to Corbell. And he never did it before he died. He gave all the rights and all that stuff to his family when he died. And his daughters hate Corbell, so they refused to, give him the rights to the film and all that stuff. So none of that information ever came out, right? Immaculate Deception was the name of their thing. It's weird that he uses the name Immaculate with John Lear. So clearly, this intel, this document or this whatever thing, looks like it came from John Lear, which means it could have come from anyone on the Living Moon forum that gave him that information, or any number of people back in the day, back in that time frame. I'm thinking, like, where did this come from? But it's Corbell's involved, and it has the same constellation word in it. There's a connection there, right?
I can see that.
The Immaculate, there's a connection there, and people need to understand, like, these programs could and probably do exist. We know that the U.S. Air Force was created 3 days after Roswell as basically creating a new container organization for military stuff with a new label on everything. So now it's all Air Force, right? It's in a separate department. It's under a separate branch of the military entirely, kind of like what Trump did with Space Force. Again, now that new tech, the newer tech, the reverse engineered tech that we have in these programs was about to come out, created, again, another separate department of the military to handle all that technology as it's coming forward. You look back to 1994, these conspiracy theories have a powerful impact.